The San Diego Padres are becoming whole once again. Welcome into another episode of Friar Territory. I'm Kyle Glaser. We will be joined shortly by longtime Major League pitcher and current Padres broadcaster Bob Scanlan. The Padres get a big boost this weekend when Michael King, their opening day starter and Game 1 postseason starter last year, makes his return from the injured list after nearly 3 months away. He will start Game 2 of their upcoming series against the Boston Red Sox on Saturday, joining a Padres pitching staff that already leads the National League in ERA. Michael King, of course, one of the best starting pitchers in Major League Baseball over the last 2 seasons. Everything is looking up for the Padres. We've got a lot to talk about, and Bob is joining us to break it all down. All right, we are pleased to be joined now, of course, by longtime MLB pitcher and broadcaster Bob Scanlan. Bob, the vibes are good in San Diego right now. The Padres have won 9 of 11. They're only 2 games back of the Dodgers, and they get Michael King back this weekend. Again, it's been an up and down season, but right now this is definitely an up for the Padres.
Yeah, Kyle, great to talk ball with you. And no doubt, this is an exciting time for Padres baseball for all the reasons you just described. The team is playing very well. AJ was very dynamic at the trade deadline, as everybody knows at this point. So, I mean, you put together the Christmas list of things that he might want, and Mike Shildt might want to finish strong and not only get to the postseason, but really be a force in postseason baseball. AJ did it. I mean, there's no question that they are all in. And then, of course, the question becomes, okay, well, how do all these new pieces actually gel together? And, you know, everybody's sort of finding their fit in the clubhouse, in the lineup, in the bullpen rotation. And a lot of that's on Mike Shildt and his coaching staff, and also on the players that are already there, right? I mean, the guys who are there making those new guys feel welcomed. And from everything I've heard over the last few years, Manny has really been outstanding, Manny Machado, in terms of being the team leader. And when you talk to new guys coming into the clubhouse, you ask, hey, how's the transition going? One of the first things they always say is, it's been great. And Manny has been fantastic and making me feel welcome. So that's an important part of it, as you know, Kyle. So far, so good. And we've already seen a lot of those new pieces making a difference in the outcomes of games.
No question about it. And definitely want to hit with you more on those new additions, how they've transitioned to the Padres clubhouse and Manny's leadership. But I want to start with Michael King's return and how big this is for the Padres. The Padres have the lowest ERA of any team in the National League right now, ahead of the Brewers, ahead of the Phillies, ahead of the Mets, all the other contenders in the National League. The Padres are number 1. And now you add Michael King, who, when he has been on the mound, has pitched at the level of a number 1 starter. I don't know if people really appreciate this. Among all starters who have made at least 40 starts since last season, Michael King is 8th in the majors in ERA. He has been a top 10 pitcher in Major League Baseball when he's been on the mound over the last 2 seasons. What are you going to be looking for and expecting from him now that he's coming off the IL? Because we also want to give him some time. He hasn't pitched in almost 3 months, and he's coming off a nerve issue that affected his shoulder, and we all know shoulders can be a little tricky.
Yeah, all great points. And I love that you brought up the perspective a little bit from the 30,000-foot view of what Michael King has actually done since he's joined the starting rotation. It's been fantastic. And he actually got stronger as the year went on last year, when everybody was wondering, transitioning from the bullpen, how far is this guy going to be able to go? Let it go, being dominant at the end. So it's been a fantastic story. And so I guess we'll start off with the injury side of it. Really a unique injury in that it was a nerve issue, very unusual for baseball people to get it. And it wasn't that the nerve was damaged. It was just aggravated and decided to shut down. And so the shoulder wasn't reacting properly. And all the doctors said, look, this is something that you can't really control. It will come back when it comes back. And when it does, you should be fine. And that is exactly what seems to have happened. Now, it took a little bit longer than anybody would have hoped for that nerve to sort of reactivate itself. But once it did, Michael King was like, hey, it's back. I'm feeling good. And it's not a situation where there was any soft tissue damage or anything that you're trying to repair or you're trying to restore or that you needed to strengthen, or who knows if this is going to, happen again and re-injure that. There is no injury, so to speak. The nerve is reactivated. And from all the doctor's reports, once it does, you're fine to move forward. So for him, it's been a perfect scenario, and there have been no setbacks. All of his rehabs have gone incredibly well, and he's been right on track ever since that nerve came back to life. So all good signs, and no reason to think that Michael King can't just pick up where we normally see Michael King. And the great sign for me was watching his simulated game over at Petco Park a couple of weeks ago, where he threw 3 simulated innings. And the key thing for me was the action on his pitches, and especially that 2-seam fastball, which is his bread and butter. He was able to dot that thing to the glove side, both, front hip to the lefties, backdooring it to the righties. When he's got that weapon going, Michael King's in a pretty good place. So the mechanics seem to be there. The shape on all his pitches were there. There seemed to be pretty good command of all of it as well, working both sides of the plate up and down. So it was just solid. And so my expectation is to see what we normally see out of Michael King on a major league mound. Now, that being said, it has been a while since he's been out there. There will be adrenaline, right? It'll be like a second opening day for him. He's going to be excited to be back out there. So I'm not going to be shocked if the command isn't pinpoint right from the beginning, but we know that the pitch shapes are there. The strength is there. And we know Michael's competitiveness and what he can do out there. So super excited to see him get back on the mound. And the other side of that, Kyle, is the chemistry and the dynamic of that starting rotation, and the closeness that they have. And even though Joe Musgrove has not been on the mound, Joe Musgrove is a part of this team, and he's in that clubhouse. Darvish has not been on the mound for a good part of the season, but he is back on the mound. He's always been a part of this clubhouse. Nick Pivetta has been a great addition to what's going on. These guys together they just seem to make each other better, and other people that are coming in understand that and they appreciate it and they seem to feed off of it as well. So sort of just getting that group back together, having his weekly and daily input on what he's seeing and coming in off the mound and sharing, hey, this is how this guy's reacting to my two-seamer. I think you can throw your, whatever it is. It's an additional strength that's added to having him back as well in terms of the influence that he has on the rest of the staff.
Yeah, and what's going to be really interesting too, and why there's so much excitement surrounding this, of course, getting Michael King back in a vacuum with how effective he is. It's a great addition for the Padres, as it would be for any team. But it's also going to mark the first time we've seen the Padres starting rotation really be whole this year. You have to remember, when Michael King was healthy, Yu Darvish wasn't healthy. And we've seen, obviously, Yu Darvish now come back. He's starting to round into form, had a great start against the Mets. Wasn't great against the Diamondbacks, but he's still getting there. You're seeing improvement from his first few starts. Dylan Cease is coming off a fantastic start against the Cardinals. The hope is he's starting to figure it out. Nick Pivetta has been pitching like an ace all season long. And now you get Michael King back at a time when if you have Darvish pitching to his full potential, Cease pitching to his full potential, Pivetta continuing to do what he's doing, if King can get back and pitch like the number one starter he has been the last 2 years, you're looking at minimum, a top 2 or 3 rotation in baseball in terms of a top 4 starters for a postseason series. And you could argue the best starting rotation, just given health. We'll see if the Dodgers are able to stay healthy, where the Phillies are. But I think from the Padres perspective, you look at it and say, they're 64-51. They have the lowest ERA of any team in the National League, and they haven't even been whole yet. Now they're finally getting whole in what is one of the strongest units on their team. Again, the potential, it's hard not to be excited.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was a great summary right there. And I think your point's also about not only getting Michael King back, but you've got Yu Darvish back. And with regards to both of those two guys coming back without a heavy workload on their shoulders heading into postseason baseball, theoretically, right? So those guys could really be at their strongest right when the team needs them down the stretch. So for all the wrong reasons, maybe their injuries actually turns out to be a blessing in disguise. And the other part of it is Dylan Cease, who seems to be really starting to hit his stride. All said and done, if you get to September and October and Dylan Cease is pitching the way we know Dylan Cease can pitch, who cares about what happened in the first couple months of the season? It doesn't really matter, because now you've got an absolutely dominant force that when he's on, he shuts down any offense, period. It's not like, he's effective against certain types of offenses, or as long as they don't stack lefties, and it doesn't matter. That stuff plays against everybody. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting when you look at them having that strength back. And to your point of having the best earned run average in baseball up to this point, a lot of it, credit to the guys who've been filling in, the Randy Vasquez's and the Stephen Koliks and the Ryan Bergerts and all the guys that did a really fine job of keeping things in place and not decimating that bullpen, at least getting to the 4th and 5th inning, keeping the team in it to be able to hand it over to the big four in the back end of that bullpen. It's been a group effort. And I think Mike Shildt's done a fantastic job of managing all that. And it's been difficult for him because there haven't been a whole lot of blowout games for him to say, I can give my bullpen a rest. They've had more one-run games than anybody in baseball. And when you look at that, that's pressure on those big inning guys in the back end of your bullpen. But here we are. They've managed to get through it. The starting rotation should be back in action. They've added to that the offense to hopefully give the bullpen a little bit more breathing room at times. And on top of that, AJ, as we all know, strengthen the bullpen on top of it. So you put it all together, and it seems like that it's at a perfect launching point to be even more of an effective of a pitching staff than it's been all season long.
I want to circle back to a point you made about how tight this group of starters is. And you make the great point. Joe Musgrove, yes, he's out for the year after having Tommy John surgery. He's in that clubhouse. He is every bit a part of this team. He is a leader in that clubhouse still. He almost in some ways has been like another coach out there.
Yes.
Look, you were a part of many, many, many different pitching staffs over the course of your career. You've covered many, many different pitching staffs over the course of your broadcasting career. How rare is it to see a group like this, 4 or 5 guys that are this tight, that are pushing each other the way this Padres group is?
I think it's really unique in two respects. First of all, there's no backstabbing competition. There's no right. And let's be honest, sometimes that goes on with.
Oh yeah, we've seen it in the Padres clubhouse before. It has happened.
Well, not just everybody's clubhouse. It's just the natural thing of you got a bunch of competitive guys in there. A lot of them want to be the top dog, where they feel like they've got something to prove, or they feel like they've been wronged by somebody along the way, or whatever it may be. And some of the those egos and everything can get in the way of what are you trying to do? We're trying to win collectively as a team. So first of all, you have none of that. All of these guys really respect each other. They all want to see each other succeed. And the other part of it is not only do you have guys that get along, but you have a whole bunch of guys who really love the game and they love their craft of pitching and they love talking about it. And they all have different ways of getting guys out so they can all share with each other, hey, this is my approach. The Joe Musgrove approach is very different from the Yu Darvish approach, which is completely different from the Nick Pivetta approach, which is north and south, which is the opposite of Michael King, who's east and west. And it's fun to watch them in the dugout during games. They're talking about grips and they're talking about, hey, did you see how that guy reacted? And I always love asking guys, as they're heading into their next start or over the course of the season, hey, who do you watch? Who do you learn from on this staff that you feel like can help you in your outing against this team 3 days from now? And invariably, they'll say, I watch everybody because I learn stuff in terms of how these hitters are reacting to my teammates' repertoire, even though I don't have that same repertoire. There's something for me to learn. There's something for me to glean. There's a tendency that I might be able to pick up. So the fact that you've got a group of guys that are all supportive of each other and they're all such intellects about the game and understanding what they do well and trying to understand what their teammates can do well and how can I learn that to make myself better. It's really a unique and fun situation to watch.
AJ, I'm on my phone right now in Arena Club, and I'm looking at the Emerald slab packs, and I see in the Grail a Bobby Witt Jr. 2020 Bowman Chrome Prospect Auto Gold Refractor card.
Give me that. Give me your phone. I'm gonna get you to
you gotta buy
that to me.
I don't have it.
I thought you had it.
Get a slab pack. No, I don't have that.
Then give me your slab pack.
That card's worth.
You buy me slab pack, Scott, so I can get the Bobby Witt Jr. Gold Refractor 2020 Bowman Chrome Auto, because that sounds awesome.
And it's worth a lot.
It's worth a lot. He's a stud. He's not going down. Get a Grail. Get a Grail. I want a Grail, Scott. Give me the Holy Grail. You do it.
To do that, you must get yourself a slab pack in Arena Club, or if you want to get it for a friend, you can do that too. And right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or your first card purchase. If you're going on there and you're just like, hey, I want a specific card, I find it there, I want to grab it for my showroom, arenaclub.com/foul, and use the code FOUL.
You talk about the tightness and the closeness of this group, and it really extends to the entire team. I always say you can tell how tight a team actually is, not just what they say, by watching the dugout. Are they all up along the railing together, talking baseball, going crazy when any little thing happens? Or are a bunch of guys down in the tunnel or down in the clubhouse or doing other things or sitting on the bench and not really engaged in the game? Look, I've been a national writer for over a decade. You've played and seen so many different teams. That's where you can really tell if a team is actually tight or not. And we saw it really last year, and we're seeing it this year too. Everyone's just so engaged, top to bottom. They're all on the railing. They're staying out in the field. And that leads me into how the new acquisitions have really been seamlessly integrated into the club. Again, it's only been a week. There's a lot of baseball left, but it's really noticeable. Let's take a step back here. The Padres acquired 8 players, 6 big leaguers. Over a fifth of their team is brand new. Over 20% of their major league roster is brand new guys, and they haven't missed a beat. What have you noticed about how seamlessly they've been integrated and just what has been the key to that process?
So the key to this process, I think, stems back to Mike Shildt. And I'm going to give him a ton of credit for this because even before Mike took over as the manager of this ball club, he and I used to have discussions. He was a coach. He was seeing the minor leagues. He was, embedded with the big league team. He was the third base coach for a while when Matt Williams was down. So he knows the organization inside and out. And one of the things that he talked to me about, just from a philosophical standpoint of his managing days in St. Louis and everything that he learned from in all of his years under some great teachers and mentors over in the St. Louis Cardinals organization, including Tony La Russa and others. But one of the things was communication that you're talking about, and specifically communication in the dugout during the game. And he really wanted to see those guys talking, interacting, sharing their input on, hey, what did you see? And in this day and age, we so often see guys, they come back to the dugout, and what do? They pick up their iPad. Right?
Stare at the iPad.
Yeah, they're staring at their iPad. And I'm not saying that there's not quality information on there, and there certainly is. We all know that. But at the same time, there's value in information in talking to the guy that just got a base hit or just scored on a double or just struck out, and he comes back in and said, hey, guys, here's what I saw. Yeah. And so right from the beginning in spring training, I noticed it when Mike took over. There was this interaction that was going on in the dugout. And then when we started off the season in Korea, I noticed it even more. I was keeping an eye on it. And these guys were constantly talking, constantly interacting. And it's a big thing. It makes a difference. Then Luis Ariz came over, and he brought it to a whole different level, because he's one of these guys who sees so much and understands what's going on as a hitter. And he would come off and he would literally stop and talk to the guy coming on the on deck circle after him, if he happened to, make an out or whatever it was. And you could see him tell him, hey, you can see the split finger, you can pick up the cutter, here's what to look for. And the news just spreads, And so I just think that is such an undervalued part of the game that has sort of been lost. And I think the Padres have done a fantastic job. And I give Mike Shildt and I give the players credit themselves also, because you, as a manager or a coach, you can bring things to guys, right? But it's up to them to actually implement it and get the most out of it. And I think that they have done that. So that's the in the dugout during the game part of it. Yeah. The other part of it, Kyle, and I'm sure you've talked about it, heard about it, the ball talk that the Padres do before every baseball game. It serves two functions, or multiple, but the two main ones is, first of all, you're going over baseball knowledge, right? Let's take a look at the last game and let's talk about it. What did we do well? What did we not do well? Yeah. Here's an interesting situation that we don't see very often. There's multiple ways that you can handle this. This is how we did it. Here's another alternative, taking into account the score and the speed of the runners on base and where this ball is. They go into depth on some of these things. And it's not in a way to call anybody out necessarily. It's just, we're here to learn together, right?
The little details matter. We see so many games lost with the little details, the little things. There's so much emphasis on exit velocities and launch angles, but how many games do we see lost because a guy got a late jump, trying to score from, going first to third or first to home, and serves from that extra run, that extra out. You see, guys going up and, not being prepared for that bats because that communication doesn't happen. You're right. There's so many aspects of the game that I think from the outside looking in are not appreciated. And we see some teams who don't do them, like the Yankees, to call someone out. It costs them games. And you have a team like the Padres that plays this tight, cohesive, clean baseball, and that translates directly to wins.
No question about it. And you're absolutely right. And I think the fact that the Padres are so intentional, and again, this is something that Mike Shildt brought in terms of, we are all students of the game. And even though we're big leaguers and we may be future Hall of Famers, or we're the first day in the big leagues, there is something that we can collectively learn about this game. And the next time this situation comes up, we're more prepared. That's the baseball side of it, Kyle. The other side of it is, it's not Mike Shildt standing there saying, here's what happened, here's what we need to do. It's Mike Shildt directing the team. And the players themselves are the ones that are talking about this game. The players themselves are saying, hey, here's what I could have done better. Hey, here's why I made that decision to go on that play and take the extra base. It's a discussion amongst the players, and it's forced not to be the same guys every single day. So everybody has to interact. Everybody has to put themselves in that uncomfortable situation of addressing a crowd, right? So it further brings the team closer together in terms of, again, we're all in this thing together. We're all learning together. We're all going to participate in these meetings at an equal level. We're all going to be comfortable laughing at each other about something. We're all going to be uncomfortable about having to talk about something that maybe we could have done better. So I think all of that brings this group closer together. And as an outside player coming in, you sense it right away. Yeah. And not only that, but you're part of the ball talk. As soon as you get there, it's like, hey, Ready for me, and welcome to Padres. Here's what we do. Here's how we handle things. Here's how we communicate as a team. Here's how we stay close as a unit. Here's how we grow together. Yeah. And I think those are incredibly powerful weapons that have really made a difference.
We talk about the impact of management, but you also have to have that leadership in the clubhouse. And I want to hit on Manny Machado with you. He's been with the Padres since 2018. And look, you've seen it. I've seen him. We have seen him grow and evolve as a leader, as we all do. No one's the same as they were 5 years ago. And what's been really fascinating to me, look, Manny Machado was always a guy who went out, he posted, he played through injuries. Yes. But what we've seen from him, we started to see it a little bit last year, and I think we've seen it a lot this year, is he's leading by example a lot more. There's a lot more consistent hustle, focus, energy. There were times in the past where he'd show it and then it would go away. And it's really stood out to me how he has kind of emerged as a leader by example consistently. What have you seen from him in terms of just his demeanor, how his leadership has evolved in the clubhouse as well as on the field?
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. It's just been this continuous growth, right? And look, I think when Manny first came over, I think there were a lot of things that were laid on his shoulders and presumptions that people had about who Manny was. And just seeing him on a daily basis, I know that he gained my respect early on in terms of one of the things that you talked about was his ability to post. Yeah. This guy shows up every single day. In fact, I don't know if the stat is still true, but recently it was since 2015, nobody has played more baseball games than Manny Machado. I'm certainly no third baseman have posted as often as he does. And we've seen it. It's not just, he's getting lucky and happens to be healthy. And this guy plays hurt. I mean, not only with acute injuries, like the time that he came back from that awful ankle injury that he suffered in Colorado. And within, I think, 7 or 8 days, he was back on the field when we all thought he had broken his ankle. Yeah. And we knew that he was in pain and that thing was taped up and swollen and he was still out there playing. Yeah. Or the sort of longer term things where, was the prior to last season where he had the elbow surgery to repair something that had been nagging at him for 2 or 3 years. So the tennis elbow issue that he had. Yeah. So this guy loves to play. And this guy, by example, says, I'm showing up and I'm playing hardball today, boys. So, I don't want to hear about, your fingers hurting a little bit or what it's like. Hey, our Hall of Famer is showing up and he's playing hardball hurt all the time. So ton of respect there. And then from I think just personal growth, the more you play, the more you're around guys, the more you see how much of an impact your presence can make, I think is really resonating on Manny. And Manny more fully, I think, understanding just how much other guys actually do look to him for that type of stuff. Yeah. And look, as we all grow, there's going to be ups and downs, right? There's going to be times where you do something really well and other times where you try something and maybe it doesn't pan out. But I think he's consistently taking risks to be that leader. To be more involved, understanding how influential he can be. And I sort of relate it to an experience that I had with Andre Dawson when I was with the Cubs. Yeah. I came in early one day. I had lunch near the ballpark, and I got there around 12 o'clock. Most of the guys usually show up around 2 or 3. So I'm there at 12 o'clock, and I'm just doing something in my locker. All of a sudden, the door opens up, and I look over, and it's Andre Dawson, the Hawk. Our team leader, and a quiet leader, but no doubt the man, right? Yeah. And there are steps that come down into the clubhouse. He took a good 2 to 3 minutes to get down these steps. And the reason was because he had such bad knees that he came in early to get treatment on his knees. That's why he was there so early. Yeah. And he would take a step, have to stop, catch his breath, take another step, catch his breath. It was unbelievable to watch what this man was going through just to get down into the clubhouse so that he could get his treatment. So that was step number 1 of just like, oh my gosh, look what this guy is going through to be out there and compete. Then the next part of it which was this, I'll never forget this. Later on that day, I went up and I said, hey, Hawk, man, I saw you come in early today. I said, I'm just curious. You're a veteran guy. Normally, the rookies are the ones that come in super early to get their treatment so that they can get out of the way because the veterans have that tenure and they can come in whenever they want and they get treated a little bit later. But it's up to the rookie to get there early to get his stuff in. And he goes, you know what, Scan, I don't want guys to see me in that condition because it would dishearten them to see me in that much pain coming in. So I come in early to make sure that nobody sees what I have to go through to get ready for a ball game. Yeah. Just like, wow, you talk about leadership. You talk about understanding what your presence is in the team and understanding how much guys look up to you and are admiring you and looking to you for strength. Even though we're all professionals, we're all big leaguers, we're all type A personalities, there are still certain guys that when you get to the ballpark and you see your leader and how he's handling himself, it does reflect on everybody. And I think Manny is in part of his growth is understanding that impact that he can have on other guys in terms of how he handles himself on a daily basis in every situation, whether it's a big game against the Dodgers or, a less big game against a last place type team. Yeah. Every one of those situations matters, and I think he's getting that.
No question about it. Bob, final question before we get you out of here. Mike Shildt is in his second year as a manager for the Padres. You have seen a lot of different Padres managers come and go. I have seen a lot of different Padres managers come and go. What has stood out to you about Mike Shildt and the impact he has had and the culture he has created in this organization?
Well, I think I shared some of those stories with you previously about sort of the connection that he wants these guys to have. But first and foremost, Mike is about something bigger than yourself. Mike is not about, it's never about you. I mean, it's about what can you do to help the team. We are all in this thing together, and there's no one piece that's bigger than another. Are there certain pieces that are going to be more influential potentially over the course of the ball game and the season? Absolutely. We've talked about it from the physical side, and we've also talked about the leadership and the emotional side. But that being said, everybody is in this thing together, and I think that is something that he has brought in, that culture of understanding that you're part of a bigger purpose. And if you don't want to be a part of that bigger purpose, totally get it. No hard feelings. We will find a place for you to go. But if you're going to be a part of this thing, you're going to be a part of this thing. And I think that has been a big part of it, on top of just the attention to detail.
Yes.
It started in spring training. The first spring training, I remember talking to the coaching staff and saying, hey, what do you guys got going on this spring? And, what's different? How's it with Shildt? And everyone was, he is so on in terms of what we need to focus on and how we're going to do it today, and working on all the little details about stuff. So I think there's an attention to detail. And the final part of it, and it kind of goes back to being part of something bigger than yourself. Mike is not about, we're the coaches, we're going to tell you this is what you need to do. Yeah. It is, this is your team. You tell us what we need to get better at. You tell us what you need to improve on personally so that you can be a more effective part of this team. Yeah. And it creates a different type of buy-in and accountability by the players, because they have ownership. This is what we've told you we can do and what we need to get better at, what our strengths are. And when things don't go in that direction, it's not, hey, you guys aren't doing what we told you to do. It's, hey, you guys aren't doing what you told us you were going to do. You're not doing what you told us you wanted to be held accountable for. And it's a total different buy-in on the players in terms of having that ownership of the team, ownership of the outcome of the season and every individual game. And I think it's one of the strengths in terms of guys feeling like they're a part of something that's bigger than themselves. And it's something that they're actually have a very large hand in actually creating. And just a great strength of his on all three of those parts: being part of something bigger than yourself, getting the players to buy in and having the accountability because they have ownership of it, and his attention to detail on every little single thing.
Yeah, no question. We saw some of the individual style of play, guys maybe not being fully engaged on previous Padres teams, the 2023 team in particular, and seeing Shildt come in, the change has been noticeable. There's no more sleepwalking through games. Everyone's engaged, focused, playing hard every single game, every single inning. And it's been really, really impressive to see the turnaround.
Yeah, and Kyle, just one other point. I have to give credit to AJ Preller as well, because I think he has also evolved as a general manager in terms of understanding building a roster and getting the right pieces in that clubhouse. Because again, you can be a manager and have all those great qualities that Mike Shildt has. And if your general manager and front office has not brought in guys who are of that ilk and don't fit in, then it's going to be a tough battle to try to lead. So I think there's been a good cohesion in terms of them working together. And AJ, just in his own personal growth as a general manager, of understanding the pieces, and not just from the baseball side, but also from the personality side and what it takes to put together a winning clubhouse, a winning roster that can last an entire season. And not just for one season, but what we see with AJ's moves is they are for the future as well.
No question about it. There's been a lot of growth in that regard, and that's why the Padres are where they are, on pace to make the postseason for the second year in a row. Bob, it's going to be an exciting weekend series against the Red Sox. I'll be down there covering for MLB.com. You will be there, of course, as well. Thank you so much for joining me. We appreciate your expertise and insight.
Kyle, always great to see you at the ballpark. You do a great job, and thanks for having me on. Fun talking ball with you.
Once again, that was Bob Scanlan, longtime Major League pitcher, longtime member of the Padres broadcast crew. Again, great insight there in terms of what's going on inside the clubhouse, from Manny Machado's leadership to how the pitchers are all tight to how Mike Shildt and his coaches have really gained the buy-in from this team top to bottom. And we're seeing the results of it. Once again, the Padres are 64-51. They are in the number 5 spot in National League playoff pitcher. They're only 2 games back of the Dodgers, and they are playing really their best baseball this season, having won 9 of 11 going into this series against the Red Sox. With Bob, we talked a lot about Michael King and the importance of his return, but as part of our DraftKings player spotlight, there's another pitcher that we need to talk about who will be making a huge, huge impact for the Padres. All right, the focus of this week's DraftKings player spotlight is right-handed starting pitcher Nick Pivetta. Very, very quietly, in terms of the national scene, Nick Pivetta has been one of the best signings of the offseason. The Padres, of course, signing him as a free agent for 4 years and $55 million. Potentially, there's some opt-outs in there, as well as some various bonuses and escalators. And it's been a really interesting evolution for Nick Pivetta this season. He goes into tonight's start against the Red Sox 11-3 with a 2.73 ERA, and he has established himself as a true number 1 caliber starter. The Padres this season, as we've talked about, have not really been whole as a starting rotation. Yu Darvish missed most of the year, just came back. Michael King missed a big chunk of the year. He's about to come back. Dylan Cease has really not had a very good season overall. He's been better recently, but he was on pace for his worst career season throughout the first half of the year. The stabilizing force, the one guy who has been the constant in this starting rotation, is Nick Pivetta. And that's a really big step for him. Nick Pivetta, coming into this year, was known as a pitcher who would have these stretches of 6 starts, 7 starts, 8 starts, where he looked like a number 1. He looked like an ace. He looked like a guy that you could hand the ball to in game 1 of a playoff series and feel really good about. And then he would follow it with 6 or 7 starts where he couldn't get out of the 3rd or 4th inning. And that consistency was something that always eluded him throughout his career. Keep in mind, when the Padres signed him, he hit a career ERA in the mid-4s. The peripherals always look good. The strikeouts look good. The walks look good. No one questioned the stuff. But the consistency was never there. And it was a bold bet on the Padres' part, taking a guy who you're hoping you can unlock something. That's typically someone you give a 1-year, $12 million deal to. Not someone you give 4 years, $55 million and sacrifice a 2nd-round draft pick because he received a qualifying offer and sacrifice international bonus money. It was a big, big bet by the Padres. But as we see so often with their big bets on pitchers, it has really, really paid off. And I talked about this a lot in previous shows with Heath Bell and Mike Cameron. A big part of that bet was getting Nick Pivetta out of the American League East, a lot of hitter-friendly ballparks and a lot of explosive offenses, and getting him in front of a better defense. The Red Sox have been one of baseball's worst defensive teams for years and years and years and years, to the point it's kind of painful to watch at times. You bring him to the NL West, where he gets to pitch his home games at Petco Park, but also games, Dodger Stadium, San Francisco, 2 really, really pitcher-friendly parks as well. And you give him a defense that is going to make the plays behind him. Again, less hitter-friendly ballparks, better defense. It was very, very rational and reasonable to expect that he would have an uptick in performance. The other big part of it is where his weakness was, and we talked about that consistency, was the home run ball. A lot of hard contact in the air. You have a little more room for error when you're pitching in Petco Park than when you're pitching in Fenway Park, giving up hard contact in the air. So again, better situation. Frankly, Ruben Niebla and his coaching staff on the pitching side, probably the best pitching infrastructure in baseball right now in terms of pitching coach, everything that goes into what their pitchers do in terms of development. And we've seen the results. And Nick Pivetta right now, again, I don't want to overstate it. You look at Cy Young favorites, you have Paul Skeens, you have Zach Wheeler, and they are having even better years than Nick Pivetta is. But Nick Pivetta is going to get Cy Young votes down ballot. He has been a true number 1 starter. He has been the constant for this team. And now he gets to face the Red Sox, the team that he walked away from in free agency, that put a qualifying offer on him, but they were not going to re-sign him. And frankly, a team that was not able to get him to his fullest potential. Nick Pivetta's most recent start, 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 run allowed against the Cardinals. And you love watching him pitch. He pounds the strike zone, goes right after hitters. There's no messing around. For the most part, when Nick Pivetta takes the ball, you're looking at a 2 to 2.5 hour game. It's been really, really impressive to see just how quickly, how efficiently, and how effectively he's been able to mow down hitters. And he pitches with a lot of emotion. You see him stomping around out there. You see him letting out yells. you can bet he's going to have a lot of emotion pitching against the Red Sox tonight. I would look for Nick Pivetta to have a big outing against the Red Sox. And even if he doesn't, because again, the Red Sox have a good offense, some good young players, and look, they're going to get theirs. Through the rest of the season, Nick Pivetta will be key to the Padres' attempts to overtake the Dodgers in the NL West. And even if it doesn't happen, it's important to appreciate what Nick Pivetta has done for this team this year, how critical he's been, and how he has been the stabilizing force in this rotation. Once again, this has been this week's DraftKings Player Spotlight. I encourage everyone to go out, check out what they've got going on at DraftKings. There's a lot of great stuff with their DK Pick 6. It's really simple. All you have to do is go out, pick more or less on the stats for two or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. No gimmicks, no weird rules. And get this, all Pick 6 customers will instantly get $50 in bonus picks on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. New customers play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside, where a few bucks can turn into a bag, only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. 8/24/25 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of Friar Territory. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up. I'll be out for the Padres Red Sox series this weekend, covering all 3 games. We will have more shows live from Petco Park. Next week, Heath Bell and Mike Cameron will be joining us. Once again, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. The more subscribers we have, the more it helps us out. We are on the upswing, just like the San Diego Padres, and we've got a lot of great stuff coming here down the stretch run. For Bob Scanlan, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thank you for watching and listening. We will see you next week with all the latest from Petco Park.